Welcome to a joyous day, a lovely day, a day of trades, a day of celebration, and a day of proper pre gaming, and a day where we have six teams on the podcast to start. So who knows where this will go? The last time we've done something like this, we ended up with 8, 9, 12. Who knows how many people were gone by the end of it? But, anyways, really happy to have everyone here. Vikings, of course, with Eagles, regulars such as Bill. As the Broncos, Brandon for the Giants, and James for the Panthers. And introducing his podcast premiere debut, our new Texans owner, not the old new Texas owner, or the old Texas owner, the new Texas owner. So Sputak, welcome to the league.
Thank you guys very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yep. So as you'll know, we tend to do this on usually about a weekly basis, sometimes a little bit less often, depending on how much I'm traveling. But good way to kind of talk about what's going on in the league because I get bored when I'm traveling, and we take fantasy way too seriously. So that's what happens when you're in a single copy 32 team league. So. Anyway, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? What you're kind of focused on in fantasy, things like that.
So been doing Dynasty IPA. I need to get a beer. IDP for quite some time now. I think about 15 years. And I'm in the White Elephant League that I think a few of the guys are a part of. Been doing that for a while, and this opportunity just came up. And I've always wanted to go to a 32 team, just with how much I put into it that my wife and kids hate me for. And I said, hey, why not? Why not add one more to my already extensive dynasties? But I do the same thing for my leagues, whether that's redraft or the ones I run. I do a lot of write-ups. I do a lot of rankings on my own. I have my own SRS score, Smootax ranking system, and I use that for betting purposes too. So I have a couple of guys underneath me from my hometown that we actually go in and we write down every stat to every game. So I might be giving that to you guys if you guys might want it. But it's a pretty stupid amount of time that we put into it, which is why it's not that much to add a 32 team to it. I'm already doing all the research, my reps myself. So it's like, why not add this one and see how fast I can go from 31 to 1.
Well, RJ, it's been fun, but I think we're out of a job.
I'm fine with that. As long as I can still be on the pod and
it's been a good run. But no,
my time.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. It's great to have somebody who's passionate and knowledgeable.
Complete loser.
I prefer passionate and knowledgeable than complete loser because it makes me feel better about myself. But either way, whatever works for you, my man.
Besides that, though, I got 3 kids, wife, married, living here in Cleveland. Brown season ticket holder.
Nice.
So, not anymore.
Always. I've had my tickets for so many years. I'm 8th row dog pound. I'll die with those tickets.
All right, it sounds like you're perfect for the league. So well on you guys for finally getting the right owner into the Texans franchise. And the fact that you're willing to move off of Deshaun makes me a little nervous, but we'll go from there. But I understand
we'll talk
why.
About that. That's
you got a whole year to wait. He's not playing this season at all, so you may as well hold on.
I have some.
Roger Goodell says he's going to be suspended for the year. He's being suspended for the year.
But months ago it was if he gets over 8 games, he's going to sue. So this whole new suing, he's going to file suit. It's not new news at all.
No,
it's going to happen. It's going to be the Ezekiel Elliott all over again.
Who is it? Was it Mike Florio? Is the actual lawyer? He's the guy who's the actual lawyer.
Yep.
So there was something I heard about this whenever they decided to actually appeal. They said that you should just expect that he's going to be out the 6 games and that everything is targeted around that 7th week for the appeal purposes. Because if they suspend him for the year, that's fine, whatever. He's going to take the 6 games, but it's about fighting that 7 to whatever
it is.
Yeah, whatever weeks it is. But yeah, I don't know. I love that the NFL put themselves in this position because
So
the arbitrator was just like, the NFL's history says that this is the punishment, so this is the punishment.
Yeah, but she made it a point to put in those trigger words though.
Yeah.
Assault, predator,
Yeah.
and that's where it was like once I read that I was like, shit.
Yeah.
But it sucks
is
though
all
being a
recent and
Browns
put
fan.
together.
It just Baker got us 26 years and finally got us to the playoffs.
hmm
And I had all my Baker gear. I had everything back here.
He was
And I
2
just
yards
had
away from the Super Bowl, wasn't he?
Yeah, fucking Tyreek Hill. Fucking dump off pass. Pissed me off.
Well, that's the
Time to
Browns.
brush off that Jacoby Brissett jersey. Let's go.
Jimmy
I
G.
honestly think he's gonna be fine. I think Brissett with the schedule that the Browns have, the first 5 games, it's very doable with the squad that they have to go 3-4, 4-5.
So I think that if he actually does get the full year, they're going to get Jimmy G. I don't think they're going to be willing to ride out a year of Myles Garrett's prime with Jacoby Brissett.
Well, here's what I'm thinking too. I would actually almost rather he be out the entire year, because if he comes back week 10, week 12, you're going to have a couple games of rust to play off, and then you're going to be in the midst of you
A
can't
shit
lose.
season anyway.
Yeah, so like at this point, at least just sit off, let the rust go, and then come back next season without any more drama and let it go, and just come back to it and be ready for the next season.
See, isn't that the crazy shit? Is that all it needs is 1 year and people will forget about it?
And in Cleveland,
already
it's
been
one
a year.
touchdown. It's one touchdown. And it's
Yeah, I don't know. It's so weird. This is such a touchy topic, but I don't know. I'm very interested to see how this goes.
I'm not.
But fuck the Browns, regardless.
He made the NFL. I hate that perception of like fuck Cleveland, because like that's
He's a Steelers fan. That's
Yeah.
his
oh
underlying
well
bias.
then you're no shit.
I thought that was kind of obvious, but you know.
No,
We had never discussed it, never brought it up.
No, I don't judge people based on it, but now I can see it. You just look like a Steelers fan.
Well, he's got a little Latrobe shirt on. That kind
That's right. That's right.
It's just your face is very punchable. I don't know why, but now I know why.
Hey, either way, go Cavs.
Yeah.
So, kind of getting into the topic for today. Time to start getting into the power ranks. It is preseason football. I think we're getting our first round of games this week, so we'll talk about some of the teams who have really moved around since the power ranks we did post draft. A couple of particular, Bill, in terms of deciding to completely tear his team down after making a couple of moves, looking like he was going to go for the playoff, try and sneak into the playoffs. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Brandon catapulting himself to the class of the NFC East now. And then a couple other trades that have gone down. And then we'll start going through probably what we'd see as the teams that are really building for next year, including Smootalk's Texans as a starting point, as well as a couple others who definitely have committed themselves to the build and really focusing on that 23 class. So without further ado, we'll jump into it, kind of starting with the trades that have gone down since our last podcast. So let me go ahead and pull that up. So we were about a week ago. We had a couple of false starts there where Seahawks and Broncos were trying to trade with each other. Seahawks and Browns trying to trade for each other. But then we had, really the trade with Seahawks kicking things off with Broncos rebuild, his 4 trade completely blow it up process. So, Bill, what made you finally pull the trigger from going from, hey, I'm going to try and score enough points to make my picks suck and sneak into the playoffs to, you know what? I like being the bottom of the league. Let's do this again.
So it was just a realization of, at best, I'm going to be in the position I was last year, which is just on the outside looking in. And the whole reason behind that was the wide receivers were very mid-tier. Tight end was also mid-tier, depending on how you feel about Dawson Knox and Jonnu as the targets there. I had no linebackers, and literally nothing was happening with discussion there with anybody I had talked to about it. So I was just like, yeah, I can't do it. So it just came down to literally asking Goose, like, can I get my first back, please? And he said, fuck you.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
and then I was like, that's fine. I'll just keep going. I'll make it as bad as I possibly can, which is the plan that I had in the first place. And then he sends me he sent me the offer for Ritter, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, we can work with that for sure. Because the deal with Seahawks wasn't that bad. I wanted an RB1 and I wanted George Pickens and a first. So I got all of that. Clyde is mixed reviews. You can have your own opinions about that one, obviously. But I mean, at the end of the day, it really came down to, was I willing to give up Bell and Boyd to get that deal done? And I'm fine with it now. And then the next day, it literally went to Goose and his decision. Because I valued Clyde way more than other people in this league do, apparently. So,
Well,
You did your best to
Already
tank his
flipped him. I
offer.
don't know about that.
You did your best to tank his value over the year here. Talking about
oh yeah. I don't believe in that motherfucker whatsoever. But I live in Kansas City now, and all I hear is fucking Clyde's going to be great. And then you have Isaiah Pacheco, a 7th rounder, splitting first team reps with him every day. So whatever that means, but have fun with him, Brandon.
I mean, he's my RB3.
But we'll get to that. We'll get to
That's,
that.
I was going to say that him as your RB3 is just incredible. That's
Yeah, at some point I do this with some of the leagues where I'll take kind of a point in time. This is what the roster look like. And then sum up all the trades of here's what it looks like now. I think once we get to kind of week 1, it will make sense to do that with your team and kind of say, hey, is all of this worth Matt Ryan, Najee Harris, Tyler Boyd, Bell, etc. And again, it'll be kind of a point in time where a lot of it will probably depend on what happens with those picks. But I was not the biggest fan of this trade because our previous conversations, Bill, and I hope you don't mind me sharing. I felt you were in that precarious position where you didn't have your pick. You were going to get
Right.
overcharged to get it back. And if you tried to tank, you weren't going to really put yourself in a position where, okay, I'm going to be bad in 22, and then 23 is my year back. It's going to be I'm going to be bad in 22. 23 is going to be my first year of the rebuild. Maybe in 24 or 25, I'll be in a position to compete. And you had just traded your way out of that in 21. So that's why I was saying, hold the line. Let's see how these guys develop.
Yeah.
Get yourself a lot of options in a best ball league and see where you finish.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, no, I mean, that was the plan. That was the plan. It just, I don't know. Something just hit me of like, why wouldn't I try to get certain pieces if I know I'm not going to win this year, right? Like, I'm not going to beat Chiefs or Chargers for the division. So it's the question of a wild card. And I was like, I don't have it. And I don't have literally any picks to do anything with. So I'm not going to, I was doing my best to not move 24 picks whatsoever. Cause that's how I got into this mess in the first place, by having to, ask Goose of all people for my pick back. And, so it was just one of those things of like, I want to try to do a semi build. If I have to do a complete teardown, fine. I'll just make my own pick better, but I don't have it yet. So this was just like a midpoint of like, get a first that's going to be fairly valuable, in my opinion. Get Pickens, who looks incredible by all reports, and get a running back 1. I don't like moving what I had to move to do it, but, looking back on it now, I'm fine with where I stood.
Does the Deontay Johnson do anything?
What, his 2 years?
Of him signing and thinking that maybe it's just
No, I'm not worried
hold
about
until
Deontay. Chase is the one that's not going to get reextended, and he's a bust as it is anyway.
Yeah, Trubs can definitely support 2 or 3 wide receivers, right?
I'm a big George Pickens guy. He was my
Yeah.
number 3 receiver going into the draft just because of a couple red flags, more of off the field stuff
Mhm.
that came out about him. But his tape was phenomenal,
Yeah, he's
even
a
if
dog.
his numbers weren't huge. So
Yeah,
and it's gonna be fun to see what happens there.
I'm not a big fan of the. There's a beat writer, Andrew Filipponi, who keeps trying to make him out as the next AJ Green and or Randy Moss, and I'm like, let's not do that to this kid, please. Like, let's just not let him be the mental case that Antonio Brown was, even though he ended up being there for 9 years and killed it. But still, just let him be who he is. That's all I ask. Just please be good.
His attitude's a good fit for the Steelers. I feel like kind of a little bit off his kilter, a little bit overly aggressive at the receiver position. Guys like Hines Ward, Antonio Brown, those are the kind of the guys that they go for in the past. So he kind of felt like a Steeler, especially when that happened.
Yeah.
That said, it is Mitch Trubisky, and concerns there. My big thing was Najee Harris. Like you're talking about from a dynasty perspective, especially on a rookie deal, probably a top 5 running back asset. And in terms of what you got back, it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Panthers are going to be a contention for playoff team, in my opinion. So going from Najee to Edwards-Helaire and a playoff first for that feels like you got kind of 60 cents on the dollar. So the entire deal feels like you got 70 cents on the dollar. So I understand wanting to make the move and wanting to pivot. I am one of the most prolific tankers in this league history, so it would be completely hypocritical for me to say otherwise. But the reason I didn't want you to tank is I thought you were going to get undersold on these deals, and I feel like this is a 70 cents on the dollar deal.
Sure.
Not to mention David Bell, who after who knows how many more years Cooper has left, and even if he is a number 1, because Cooper could have had his best years behind him, to be honest, even with Watson. So
he did.
I love
in Vegas.
He had his best 9-10 week stretch when he got traded from the Raiders to Dallas, and then past that he's always had a lot of extra help and everything. So he has not had everything on his shoulders for a couple of years now, and he's gonna go to.
I love David Bell. Like I think he has for the way that the Browns play, and they're always going to play. It's gonna be David Bell has that Landry in him to be that just short routes and then go deep every now and again.
If he can stay on the field.
Yeah, Jarvis Landry.
Again, it's not the best comp, but it's what I see of him taking that role that we saw a few years ago.
And the other piece of that is Tyler Boyd. And if you didn't have Boyd in there, I would feel better about the deal. But Boyd being on top of all of that is just like, I get it. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, these guys are all-world guys. Burrow's going to be a constant 4,000-yard quarterback. That means Boyd's going to be in the consistent conversation for 800 yards and, call it 5 touchdowns. That's a very productive best ball asset. So throwing that on there on top of everything else just felt like a thing too much for me. So
injury away from a lot more too.
Exactly. That's exactly
because they don't really have a proven tight end there. So anything happens to Jamar, he misses 2 or 3 games. Anything happens to Higgins, he misses 2 or 3 games. So all of a sudden, Tyler Boyd gains a lot of value.
Yep. And again, not to jump ahead, James, but I loved your reacquiring of him later on. So that's part 1 of said blow it up. Part 2 of the blow it up, and this just hurt me all over. Matt Ryan on a very reasonable $17 million contract, and Dawson Knox on a less than $2 million contract as a starting tight end in this league for Desmond Ridder, pieces, and your first pack. I understand needing to get your first pack if you're trying to pivot here, but this is, oh my God.
I think this one is totally fine. I think this one is actually better.
I love this for Bill.
No,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that he ever gave up that first. Like I have my concerns about Ritter. I've talked about his accuracy issues thrown to the right, but Matt Ryan, he's near the end. His throw power has definitely gone down. I know in Atlanta he didn't have any help with the pass pro, and then Dawson Knox is a middling tight end. You know, they went out and paid OJ Howard. I know OJ Howard isn't looking good, but if they're going out and still paying people and trying to address the position, they aren't done with it. So
Yeah, but that also has a lot to do with the fact that they don't have receiver depth.
I was a lot higher on Knox before the OJ Howard signing. Now
I
I,
don't- I
kind of
didn't-
agree with that.
I didn't think it was relevant. OJ's never been relevant. I didn't
He has
think
no
anything of it.
hands. Dude has no hands.
He's so good
Yeah.
in that. Okay.
It's
he's
But
a good
I-
run blocker though.
right.
Yeah,
It's
but-
not about the hands. It's about the fact that he's going to be on the field for
Yeah.
a percentage
Yeah.
that Knox won't be.
Yeah. But I love this one, honestly. Like, yeah, it's a bunch of garbage for cap purposes, but like it's Ritter and a first for Knox and Ryan. And I don't know. This is like 3 1s for Dawson Knox, in my opinion. Like Matt Ryan is whatever. I don't need him by comparison, especially now that I got my first back. But this was offered to me, and I was like, I can't believe that this is actually being offered. And it took me maybe 5 minutes.
I was a little bit higher on Ritter post draft than I am like
Mhm.
right now. But that's fine. He's still a young quarterback with talent that will most likely get an opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't know if that opportunity is going to be this year, like we assumed. Initial reaction for landing
Mhm.
spot.
Mhm.
But I love this trade for you. You're going to be able to get rid of Swaim for something when
Yeah.
he puts up numbers. Tre'Davious White is a productive
injured.
player. Yeah, but you're going to get what, a 5th round, a 4th rounder out of it.
He'll get a comp pick at least. Right?
Yeah,
Right.
comp pick at minimum.
The great dream for him would be if Ritter does just sit this whole year, that pick becomes like a top 3 pick. He takes whichever the quarterbacks slides to him, and then Ritter starts next year. He flips Ritter after a game or 2.
Yeah. I mean, Ritter still is out of the like rookie quarterbacks in the best position.
hmm
Just as far as like competition wise.
I mean, Sam Howell's got a pretty good shot too. Carson Wentz has apparently been absolute ass this year in Washington.
Oh yeah. Is it all of a sudden? No. he's
Yeah,
always
right.
been there.
Right.
I think Washington's just gonna trot him out there because I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know how
Yeah.
they really feel about Howell.
Yeah.
But Howell, that's reasonable because there's only one quality quarterback ahead of him
Yeah.
as far as
Yeah.
like competition wise. Where the
Heineke played
rest
that
of
whole
them,
year last year. I think they'd rather trot out Heineke than Howell.
I would agree with that too.
Yeah.
I think they're going to see what they got in the kid regardless. Like at some point they'll put him out there regardless this year. But yeah, I mean Pickett's going to sit all year. It's pretty clear by that. Tennessee is not going to play Willis. What's left?
I think Willis plays. He doesn't start, but Willis is going to be in some running packages. Him and Derrick Henry in the backfield. That's
he'll
scary.
Taylor
play-
also hasn't been
he'll play
the most
generally.
healthy player in his career. I mean, I could see Willis getting some starts this year.
But who are the other ones? So
You have
Atlanta.
Corral behind
Corral.
Baker.
Oh yeah,
and
and Carolina.
Darnold. And he
Yeah.
also probably still has a drinking problem. So that's
Okay. So it's pretty much Howell and Ritter as the options for rookies, but I don't know. I mean, now that I got my first back, the less points, the better.
Yeah, and Ritter could be a golden ticket because if he does end up
Mhm.
landing that job, I mean,
Yeah.
now
Yeah,
it's-
that
you can
yeah,
do
it kind of worked out. It's interesting because Goose got Davis Mills and Ritter, and I'm like, well, let's see. But yeah, I'm hopeful. I think Ritter's underappreciated, but with Drake London, if he pans out with Pitts, I think it'll be just fine.
Goose having 2 starting quarterbacks and paying them like 17 mil total
Yeah.
is delicious.
Yep. right, like I said, I'm happy to take the minority position on this. I feel this was, a 50 cents on the dollar trade. Granted, it comes out to where your pick ends up, but I absolutely hate this.
I think collectively the deals, like both together, I think they work out just fine.
Mhm.
I think Matt Ryan is so far, since we're making deals based off camp hype, Matt Ryan has been destroying things.
Yeah.
I think we'd say terrible things about the trade with the Seahawks unless you like rectify yourself with the Chiefs deal.
Yeah.
Like
Again, that's fine.
I think the Najee trade, like I don't really like that trade. Like I don't hate it, but my initial reaction was this is atrocious.
Yeah.
So I know there is some amount of disparity, but like when you signal you're going to you're going a little bit more tank, and then you reacquire your first, like I become a little bit more lenient on like breaking down these trades because like yes, you are moving things for like picks that you feel are maybe better positioned than the value is.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I like if you like that Najee trade in a vacuum, I don't like. So I would not.
Right.
I would not try to compile it with the Ritter trade to try to make it seem good.
Right.
What are some comp trades of a top 5 RB that we've seen in the last couple of years?
It doesn't happen.
That's what I'm trying to like.
Where Jonathan Taylor went for CeeDee Lamb and something.
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb first.
Yeah.
I traded Javonta for McCaffrey.
Yeah, top 5 running backs could trade it every other month.
Yeah, they pretty often.
Especially whenever they have a non-rookie contract.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So let me find the Taylor deal here. It was earlier this offseason. What was that pre-rollover?
I think it was pre-rollover. You've had CD for a while.
Okay.
And you just won't let him go.
Well, yeah, he was very insistent on getting Taylor from me. So let me see if I can find this real fast. But basically, the major portions of it were I sent him Jonathan Taylor and Bobby Wagner, got back Darius Leonard a first and CeeDee Lamb.
That's right. Whose first was that?
I'm working on it. 1 second.
See, just hearing that, I feel like he got a lot more for Najee.
It was Falcons second in 22 and Raiders first in 23.
And what did that 22 end up being?
It was 232.
Yeah.
Yeah, Falcons is one back-to-back.
So yeah, it was Taylor, Bobby Wagner for 232, Raiders 23 first, CeeDee Lamb and Darius Leonard. So if that's what we're valuing guys of that ilk for, that's again.
At the time, I think Wagner was considering retirement. He was like not on the Seahawks and not yet signed with the Rams. So it was also like very unclear what his position was going to be.
He was essentially of no value when that trade went down.
Yeah.
It was before that because Bobby got flipped to me, I believe. Or I flipped Bobby. It was somewhere in there.
Wasn't he flipped for Darius Leonard?
That's the trade that we're talking about.
That was the trade.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. It checked out for a minute.
Yep, all good. All right, so I've done enough of railing on Bill here. Let's get going to the next.
That's okay. I can take it. I'm a big boy.
I know. I'm proud of you. So took a couple of tries, but Texans and Browns made a trade. I think Texans
I
already.
can't believe Browns
Two
made
trades.
the first trade.
2 trades.
But we've got the first try and the second try. So Devonta Wyatt, and then Rashawn Gary for Philip Lindsay, Dane Belton, Browns first next year, Rams third next year, and the Pats third next year. Again, not going into the players per se at this point, kind of focusing on sort of the players coming from Texans and the picks. I like everything from that. Lindsey looks like he's kind of a depth play. I don't know a whole lot about Belton, but considering the big thing is the contract for Rashawn Gary, and if Wyatt maintains that DE positioning. I think a lot of us after the draft were concerned that he was going to get moved over to D tackle based off his size. And
He's listed at D tackle.
The Green Bay format. So if he moves to D tackle, he becomes a lot less valuable. So I think it's a good sale by Smutak. With that being said, that Gary contract is a very attractive one because you've got him locked in at less than $2 million. But point being, you got rid of 2 players, got a first out of it, 2 looking very productive thirds, and some upside at players. So as far as deals go, I really like this for Texans, especially with what he's trying to do. But I can understand why Browns made the deal.
True or false? Lindsey and Belton were cap casualties in this deal.
True.
Oh, they had to be. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't view any of the players. I don't view Lindsey, Cole, or Belton as anything more than just dump in this.
Yep.
Belton is he's like the backup safety.
He's the backup.
Oh,
and so he's going to be the number 3 safety.
Yep.
So he's going to get some run.
And then my thought on the Lindsey, because it was going back and forth. It was, if anything does happen to Taylor, that's gonna be a running back by committee. And who's on the roster right now? I believe that Lindsey has the biggest, or is the closest comp to JT on that team, who can handle that load or take those dump off and make something work with it.
No, I agree with you completely on that. If Taylor went down, Lindsey would take that role. It wouldn't, and Hines might get more snaps, but Lindsey would be the person to fill in that role.
Hines would be the third down back.
Yeah, I love Hines,
Hines
but he's not the best ball carrier, vision-wise.
No.
From the Brown side of this deal, I get it. It's a good linebacker contract, but the homie has the most receivers and linebackers. It's just not a position that I would have paid good.
The first to go add to.
Yeah.
The Browns.
I would have paid it. I love them. I loved Wyatt in last year's class. I traded for Rashawn Gary last year, and everyone said I paid up too much for him, and then he went ahead, 9.5 sacks. I think he's got a chance to easily go into the 12-14 range this year. So that's some big time players.
So go ahead, RJ.
I view Gary as being worth the first. I just don't I wouldn't give up Wyatt for 2/3 and some filler. That's my issue with it.
Yeah. If Wyatt stays at D end, this is terrible return. But if he goes to DT,
even if he's a DT,
I'm fine with that.
So I was talking to Smutek about this with Gary, because this was my initial conversation with him was based around Gardner and Gary and pre-tanking, and I didn't want to pay what he was asking for because Gary is holdout eligible. Within this contract, he is eligible holdout. And I'm like, all he needs to do is have one blow up year, and that contract fucking sucks. So the risk is not worth it for me.
It's a 25% roll or something, or is it 33? It's not that high.
Isn't it the highest of the 2 options?
Well, holdout for him would put him in the top 5 category, which would mean Pro Bowl.
I know, but it's the chance of a holdout, though, is only it's like a 25 to 33% roll, right? So it's not,
you mean odds wise?
Yeah, because for him
he has to be top 5.
No, so it's definitely worth the risk.
Gary was not a Pro Bowl last year.
No. I'm saying if he was
trending a direction, he was going to make a Pro Bowl
right,
or be a problem in that standpoint, you extend him before the end of the year at his current contract, and he's no longer holdout eligible.
Yeah, you get it to more than 4 years or something?
Yeah, it's currently 4 years.
And at a 1.8 base, extend him 2 more years, he's going to be 2.2?
Yeah.
No, he's 1.18. He's not 1.8.
Okay, so he's
only 1.2 million. Yeah.
That's again if for guys who take a goose type approach to this, where it's points per dollar, Gary is an ideal kind of player because he's going to get you 160, 180 points, probably floor, assuming non-injury, on a yearly basis for less than $2 million. And that's a great thing to have at linebacker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I don't challenge the value that he paid for him. I would be putting those resources elsewhere on his roster. With
Oh,
that.
I
Yeah.
agree, but also that's just a good value in
Yeah.
itself.
Right. He's either going to pivot off of that and try and move other pieces, or he's now got to move that piece. So that's a difficult thing to do. But again,
Well, he's been trying to sell 1 or 2 receivers and linebackers for months now.
He asks too much. It's the issue.
well,
Yep.
you guys are shaming me into action after all of these trades, so we'll see what happens.
Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. I will say this. When I still had Najee, I had conversations around Zamir White and Allen Robinson, and I was basically told to fuck off.
All right. So I mentioned it earlier. The second to last trade here was Seahawks and Panthers. You had Tyler Boyd getting flipped from Seahawks to Panthers for his 24 first. So again, major part of the trade with Broncos was Seahawks giving up Panthers 23 first. Panthers now looks like he has even a better team and going the right direction and giving up his 24 first to get Tyler Boyd back. So
This is solid.
yeah, just makes sense for
Solid.
everybody.
Yeah, this was offered to me when I still had him. I just didn't want a 24 first. I wanted 23 picks. So that's all it really came down to. But yeah, I mean, I like this a lot. The thing with Panthers, I mean, James, you know the division you're in. You're in the South. Like, you're going through just as much as RJ and Brandon are about to go through in the East. Like, this is a brutal division for you.
Yeah. Bucks
Yeah,
is a good
no,
team.
it is. I just feel I'm better than the Bucks, and the Falcons are going to be weak a little early as that team kind of finds itself with all the suspensions, injuries, and everything that he's got going on. It's where I feel like I can pull out a couple early and give myself a chance. I don't know if I'll win the division, but I definitely feel pretty strongly I'll be pushing for that wild card, and I feel like I have a good chance to get one of the spots.
Well,
So.
selfishly, I'm pushing for you to miss this year and then do it next year. So,
As nice as we can be about the situation.
all right.
Switak, we haven't started with you on some of this. What's the ranking system say about this?
For mine,
Yeah. No, for the Boyd trade.
oh, the Boyd trade.
Yeah.
Where I go at with Boyd is more so on the injury to anybody else, up with Higgins and Chase. Personally, I don't like Boyd that much just because of the system that he's in. With how they're going to be running their system now with Mixon, I just don't see where if Boyd gets traded 100%. But I feel like this could cause Boyd to get frustrated because he has the talent, and Boyd was frustrated when Higgins came in, and now he's the fourth option after Mixon. I just don't see it working out long term with Boyd. So I think it's a little bit of an overpay for a first. So the fact that you got a first the fact that they got a first for it was just awesome.
Yeah. No, it's a win, I think, for both. I mean, if it turns out poorly, like you said, I mean, there's upside if Chase or Higgins go down, downside long term based off the system. So, again, the floor just seems like, 50 receptions, 800 yards, 5 touchdowns, or 60 receptions, 800 yards, 5 touchdowns. Just seems like what that's going to produce.
The Bengals offense is going to be really interesting this year. Their O-line is like 10x better than it was last year. It's going to be very interesting to see what they can do now that they could theoretically protect Joe Burrow a lot better.
Mm.
And they
Here's my thing for James. Like, Boyd is going to be your fourth, fifth wide receiver. I know it's best ball and everything, so that
Yeah,
doesn't
he's 3 or
matter,
4 behind Cooks and Deontay.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle Phillips.
You don't. I mean,
I do love the Phillips, but yeah.
That's a solid pick that I hated
Um,
during draft time.
Yeah.
I'm
I love-
learning
but I
not to
love
bet against
Phillips.
James because I had the prediction after the draft that James has that Back to the Future sports almanac, and he knows that Isaiah Spiller and others are going to be Hall of Famers and constant All Pros from this because of some of the picks he made.
When
Then-
Eckler like tears his ACL week 2, we're just gonna be like, God damn it.
Well,
I'm
that's
just
yeah,
saying,
yeah,
my
that's
theory
a-
is looking very plausible right now.
There's a fun thing in our division too with the Bucks. The Bucks'
Mhm.
running back is Austin Eckler. So if
Yeah.
Isaiah Spiller does get some of the red zone touches, which it's being said he's getting some of that in camp, if I can just get the touchdowns away from him when we go head to head, that gives me the RB spot over him because James Robinson, who really knows Achilles coming back and new regime. Snoop Connor's already out there returning kicks for him, so I might be able to beat out the Bucks at RB.
but Eckler had what 20 touchdowns last year. You know, it's the regression is going to come hard.
Yeah,
Like you're
Yeah,
looking
but
at maybe
he's still a PPR beast. Like regardless, he's going to destroy it. Regardless.
and his top wide receiver being Amari that we've already discussed. So
Yeah.
I feel pretty confident that
I'd
I
say his top
could be the number
receiver is
2
Higgins.
in NFC North.
Yeah.
No, I
Well,
mean,
that's
I
the other
mean,
thing is that's the fun thing about me and the Bucks. He has Higgins. I have Boyd. Boyd catches the touchdown. I win that week. Higgins catches the touchdown. He wins.
So the Bengals are a relatively tight knit like group.
Yeah,
The wide receivers like all adore each other, and the 2 younger ones love Tyler Boyd. One of their goals is to get all 3 of them at 1,000 yards.
1,000 yards. Yeah.
So like
Yeah, I heard that.
they love Tyler Boyd. He is their like vet. So
And Joe
I-
really likes him too.
yeah,
Has not only happened like once though. In that, wasn't it Kurt Warner and
No.
the Cardinals? Like
No.
that's the
No,
Never
three,
that's never
three-
happened.
Happens a lot.
Now,
the 3 receivers
Colts
with
did.
1,000 yards.
Manning did it with Wayne Harrison and Stokely.
but 3. We're talking about 3 though.
Yeah.
3 in the same
Reggie
season.
Wayne,
3,
Marvin Harrison,
Oh.
Brennan Stokely.
really.
Kurt
Was that
Warner didn't do
early
that with Bolden.
2000s?
I'm not sure if Warner did it. It would have been what? Bruce Holton, Azahir Hakim.
No, I'm talking about in Arizona with Anquan Bolden and Larry Fitz.
So who was the third?
I don't know whoever the third was in their Super Bowl year.
Oh,
John Brown, maybe.
No, two. It would have two.
How
long-
old do you think John Brown is?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, I know. I don't think you got to 1,000 though. I know who you're talking about. I just can't think of his name off the top of my head. And again, who knows? Burrow, the way he throws, looks like he's going to be a 4,000, 4,500 yard throw passer. Potentially 3 guys over 1,000 is possible.
I can see all 3 of the wide receivers
It was
getting
Steve
100.
Breston,
Steve Breston, yes. That's
and
it.
they did it. They actually did it. Steve Breston got 1,006. Bolden was 1038, and Larry Fitz was 1431
Okay.
in 2008.
that's a great bet this year that a team will do that. That's a great bet.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you find a sports book that does that, I would love to put money on that.
Right.
Yeah, because they aren't the only team that has that possibility.
Right.
No, there's a few of them, and then even remember last year it was the Cowboys. They were the ones who were supposed to have 3,000-yard receivers.
Gallup,
Yeah.
CD, and Amari.
hmm
Now they might
Yeah.
still do it this year.
But yeah,
I don't know about that. Dak is going to be running. He's going to be running the ball a lot more that he's healthy.
I
Last
just know
year he was in the pocket a lot.
Jalen Tolbert's shown out.
yeah.
Which was kind of expected. He was
Yeah.
a very gifted wide receiver.
Well, he's getting
Just from
opportunity now too.
Yep.
I mean, that's
But yeah, James, I don't know. I think the only hole on your offense is tight end, unless Ertz gets hurt and McBride steps in. But then the other concern, just solely off of reports, is Stafford and that friggin' elbow injury or whatever's going on with him.
He
But
had
I
it
mean,
last
overall, you're
year.
strong.
I think it's like an off-season story. He had the elbow issue last year.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like Trey McBride still makes it on the field, especially with the suspension to Hopkins.
Well, he's the third. He's behind Max too.
Max is the blocker. Trey can catch. He'll
This
be
will
on
be
the field quick.
It'll be an interesting year to see that offense take place. Anyway.
Yeah, especially after Marquise got pulled over for reckless driving as well.
He'll get a fine, no suspension.
Well, let's move to the next trade so I can shit on both teams. In this
I was going to say, Brandon's been very smiley and very patient during this entire process.
I'm always smiley. You just have never seen my face.
I know you've been on the podcast, like 12 times at this point, and you've never actually shown your face. So
right.
Now shows.
Yeah, it's a progression thing. I did the same thing. Like first, like 5 podcasts, I didn't turn on my camera. And I finally did.
Now he pre-games.
Yeah. Oh, that was before I turned on my camera.
So let's just go ahead and call this what it is. It's the Broncos giving up Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Juwan Jennings, their punter, Deron Payne, Daniel Hunter, and L'Jarius Sneed for Cam Taylor-Britt, cap filler, Pats first, Broncos third, and their 24 second. I hate this from both sides. You guys go ahead.
I've never heard Mike so disgusted to have to say a punter involved in a trade.
So, Brandon, why was that included?
Because my punter's got a bye week on wild card week.
That's all it was.
I hate this trade for everybody. RJ, you guys go first. I'm just disgusted. I need to go through it.
I have like issues with this, and like I'll break it down just like piece by piece, like just my overall issues. Like, I don't understand the moving of Kiki Q2 when you're getting Juwan Jennings. They're both just wide receiver 3s that are probably going to put up like between 300 and 400 and change.
It was a year's.
Okay, that's fine, but like I just view that as a wash. So like, there's no.
Kuki's also like the 5th wide receiver for the Colts,
third.
and Juwan is the 3rd.
Isn't he? I'm pretty sure he's the 3rd. I'm pretty sure he's been running with the ones.
Yeah, irrelevant.
And anyways, it was more than years.
Okay, you're right. It's the 2 younger ones. So, but either way, like I don't like they're both just mediocre. Like will produce to some extent. Seals Jones, the Ortega Whiteside, that's all junk. Britt, worth relatively nothing. But like, okay, so there was a 1st-round pick moved. That's a pretty quality 1st-round pick and a 2nd-round pick. And Broncos gave up the 3rd running back in Kansas City, the 3rd wide receiver in San Francisco, a guy who hasn't played in
a year and a half.
He played last year.
Daniel Hunter?
Yeah.
Shows how much of an impact his 6 sacks were.
Okay.
And L'Jarius Sneed, who is quickly dropping down that depth chart.
And Deron Payne. Don't forget Deron.
Who? No, that's fine. He's a starting defensive tackle in Washington. He's actually a good player. I don't know how impactful he will be statistically, but I know they do like him.
I feel like this deal.
I'm over exaggerating with the Hunter. Like I understand he is a valuable piece, but like I think, when you're a player that went from double-digit sacks to 6 sacks, like there is a question mark on like what track are you going to be for the rest of your career?
I mean, it was injury related.
Yeah,
it wasn't performance.
No, I understand, but
he played in 7 games.
It was neck injuries. Like that's the problem.
That was the year before. I don't think last year was a neck.
No, last
year wasn't a neck, but it's neck injury.
He has a history of neck injuries.
Leighton Vander Esch is another example of that. Yes. Like it's just a player. Like I like the player, but like I question. Like there's a question of like longevity. Like one other injury and he's just no longer productive for a year. He's going to get shut down. Like there's just he is impactful, but like there shouldn't be a massive cost associated with him anymore. So like and I'm not high on Edwards-Helaire. So like I think Broncos did great, like getting the first and the second, but also like
I feel like we could have broken them down individually into more than I got to hear. But but Pat's first is going to be very high.
Like weirdly enough, like from your perspective, it's like one of those things. If you do the legwork, you'll probably get more. But like I also don't fault like for doing it, but you're not going to feel great. You're not going to feel great until there's a number associated with that pick.
Right.
Like up until that point, you still have the like bad end of that deal. As much as, you know, I may like it for your side, you're still the loser of this trade unless this pick turns into an exceptional pick.
Right.
And then you still have to do more legwork. You have to find another 2023 truther to buy it from you for a profit for you to like actually realize that like gain in value.
Yeah. I mean, at best it's going to be 103 because Saints and Texans are the two worst teams in this league.
Damn right.
But so at best it's 103. Lions is up there too.
And then, like, you know, my concerns for, like, what Giants is getting back is, like, sure, like, CEH is, like, technically the starter in Kansas City, but, like, we've said it multiple times, like, he's splitting carries with a 7th rounder. So, like, even if he's the starter going into the season, he got pushed by a 7th rounder. So, like, I don't...
So, like, running backs split carries constantly.
Yeah.
And, like, that's not... To me, I'm not super worried about that.
I feel like
it's a more you could have taken that Pats pick and used it for something more impactful than your third running back. I understand nobody was really willing to play ball as of late, and that's kind of just because we're in a lull period, and I think a lot of people want to see how their players pan out in training camp. But like if you would have just waited until like week 1 or 2. I think you could have gotten more, but like
so the way I look at this is I had 3 assets that I needed to fill some depth holes, and I pretty much did this all in one trade. I would still like to flip a running back for a wide receiver, but I don't necessarily know that that'll happen. But the way that I saw it was like, yes, I would have liked to get more out of the Pats pick. I think it was the best piece in the deal because I wouldn't do it straight up for like Clyde.
I tried.
Yeah, you did try. Yes. That was just a non-starter for me. But I think the sum of the parts that I got exceeded the value of those picks and answered a lot of questions on my roster.
So I actually started a thing I started typing up a couple weeks ago about a couple of trades I thought it should happen before the deadline. And the second thing on there was you moving the Pats future first. I thought it was going to be something that came more closer to the actual trade deadline, where you kind of felt out where you were, and you either ended up keeping the pick because it's going to be a top 5 unless he does something radical, and then using that pick to help you do whatever it is you want to do going forward, whether it be, you know, maybe you traded Josh Allen to dump the $40 million and picked up one of the top QBs in this year's class if you wanted to, because I know there's a lot of Josh Allen buyers. There's something of that nature. One of the trades I actually wrote down that I thought you might actually do before, obviously, the Broncos moved them all around, is I thought you might try getting Danielle Hunter, Daron Payne, and Tyler Boyd with the Pats first. So I felt like you probably gave up a little extra in this, especially because I don't really value Helaire. But it definitely, I already had your team at number 2. On my entire list before you made this trade. That's pretty kind of just solidified it.
So where's the hate on CEH? Like, do you guys remember like Darwin Thompson when he was taken away?
The hate on CEH is because he's
day 3 guy who was going to come in and take CEH's job.
Yeah, that's we all heard that. Andy Reid hates rookie running backs. He will put them in to early game day scripts and he'll get them into preseason. But after that, it is the guys that he's trust for years, and just like who was the comp for CEH?
Well, Kareem Hunt took the job and ran with it.
Okay, I mean because he's from Ohio and he's from down the street.
And there's no trust in Clyde. He can't stay healthy.
Yep.
But he had pancreatic he wasn't not healthy last year. He had surgery and he missed all of the preseason workouts. Like
Real
this is
players
his first
play through
healthy
that
year.
shit.
So
I'm just saying.
I think a big
hate
chunk of
on-
it is he hasn't stayed healthy. When he has played, he hasn't been the X factor everyone thought he was going to be. He's 5'8", and a lot of 5'8" guys are not successful at the running back position at this level, and he hasn't been to this point. And at the end of not this year, but next year, you're going to have to decide whether or not to fifth year option him. And a fifth year for running back
Totally.
is around 18, 20 million. So he's really got this year and next year to either prove it or he's gone. And for the amount he just gave up for the guy, it's pretty substantial to me.
yeah, but
Because you have him with the injury issues, you have Daniel Hunter with the injury issues, and then just the overall value of D tackle. Like I was top 5 in D tackle points last year, and I just moved to 3rd and a 4th for the 2 guys I had start all year. So
Totally get that.
yeah,
So I would come back to this, and I think James, you hit on it, and I will reinforce it. Take 3 minutes and put Brandon's team next to my team, next to the Redskins, and next to the Falcons. Brandon's the favorite in the NFC now after this trade. There's no question about it. If you put him next to my team, he's better at quarterback. He's better at running back. He's better at tight end. He's better at linebacker. And he's the only positions I potentially have on him is wide receiver and D end. He's got me covered. Look at the Falcons. Falcons has quarterback. You've got Brandon in favor at running back. You probably have Brandon in favor at wide receiver with everything that's happened there. A push at tight end, and Falcons defense is a weakness. And you look at Redskins potentially transitioning out. Brandon just put himself as the class of the NFC with this trade because CEH, with everything we hate about him, is an 800-yard, probably 50 catch receiving back in our league, which loves PPR running backs.
Not even to mention the vacated targets. In an Andy Reid system, vacated targets will go to the running back. And that, I mean, you can say that for a lot of coaches, but that's where they're going to go. And with especially the way that Hill did his thing, you can see Andy Reid pulling him out into a slot and doing a dagger to the right and doing that exact same thing he did to the Browns in the playoff. That's going to be his role.
And over again.
And you're not going to stop it. And that's why a 5'8" guy can make an impact.
Juwan Jennings completely emerged as the number 2, if not number 3 passing option in that San Francisco offense last year. And with Debo's holdout, there's been a lot of buzz around Ayuk, but Jennings is going to have.
Dude is so overrated.
Peace. It's camp buzz.
I think he's really good.
Jennings on that deal is worth a 2nd-round pick. Full stop for me, as far as I'm concerned.
Really?
Yeah.
Less than $1 million.
With Bill.
Less than $1 million player.
I just
receiver on that
RJ
offense, in my
Hayward.
opinion. I think he is worth a 2nd-round pick.
I had an offer sitting there with Jennings that I could have just accepted at any time, but no, Bill just wanted to give him away. I mean, a little bit of shame on me for not accepting it, but asked me, how do you feel about this trade? And then before it gets processed, he goes, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you I gave away that really valuable piece in our trade offer.
So I see this as Brandon got himself in a situation because he traded Stephon Diggs away to get the 3rd pick. Diggs and pieces away to get the 1st pick, or the 3rd pick. He's now translated it into 5 supporting pieces, which support his roster in a way that, again, he is the top seed in the NFC if things were to go today. Now, obviously, injuries are going to happen. Players are going to break out. Players are going to bust. These things happen. But right now, we're all playing catch up.
And it's interesting because, if you look at it, he only has a couple mil in cap space, but the only real extension he has to worry about next year is AJ Brown. but all of his contracts that fall off basically give him the cap salary that he needs. And worst cases, he has to sell Hunter to make it work.
Or Derwin.
So
Yeah, I mean either one. But yeah,
Only reason, in fact, like I have like 14 million dead money because I had to cut Cook. But yeah, I will have to move some money around to extend AJ before the rollover. But that's a post playoff problem.
but again, and that said, Bill got Pats first. Best case, probably 3. Realistic
We're-
case, probably 8.
yeah, 5 to 8 somewhere in there. But I mean, also worst cases, he decides to go all in again, like he did last year. Every other week he was doing in and out. So,
You're right. It's not like
God
we've seen
forbid.
this behavior before. So
Right.
at the end of this, again, and it's going to be a better picture if we look at it probably closer to the start of the season because things will be a little bit more clear in terms of who has what role.
Hmm.
We've traded a starting quarterback, a top 5 running back, multiple valuable receivers, one of the best cost control tight ends in the league,
Mhm.
and a lot of strong defensive
Third
pieces.
best.
And we've gotten your first back, which is valuable, potentially Pat's first back, which could be
Mhm.
valuable, Panthers first back, which is probably a playoff first, and later picks. So we got
And
your
then
pick
and
back,
Ritter.
and then
Don't forget Ritter.
I'm not going to respond to that. Considering what was given up, I'm just not going to respond to that. You traded about 10 first worth of material here in these trades, I'd say, and I'd say best case you've gotten 5 back.
Right.
So
But you gotta remember though, like this league does not operate on logic. It operates on taking advantage of people. So trying to sell Najee for actual value isn't exactly going to happen here.
This league is just trying to like kill all of our hopes and dreams.
All of
if
our
you
fun.
if you try to
Yeah.
manifest something that is even more of an inconvenience will actually happen.
Right. Right. Right.
I'm sorry, I don't want to speak out of school on this. Bill, you messaged me end of last week, I think it was Friday, saying you're quietly shopping Najee.
Yeah.
When did you make the deal?
Before
Monday?
you even sent that message.
So 3 days after
Yeah,
you
we
started
did.
quietly shopping a top 5 running back asset, you
Yeah.
made a deal for probably less than the value of it.
He didn't even send me an offer, and he told me he was shopping him.
I couldn't figure one out for you, man. I just couldn't.
You start with Breece Hall because he's younger, and we fucking go from there.
So again, I probably should have renamed this. We haven't really talked power ranks at all. It's just been, and 60 minutes of shitting on Bill, which, sometimes we just need to do because it's therapeutic for everyone.
Texans knows he's bad and he's trying to get worse. Bill's bad. He knows he's trying to get worse. Saints is bad. There, I knocked out the 4 lowest seeds or the 4 lowest teams. We got some.
RJ, I can always count on you to rescue the pod, and I appreciate that. But
oh man,
Yeah, I had 2 teams move down into my maybe next year tier, and they were the Pats and the Broncos. Everyone else stayed flat. I don't know if there's any
how
other
the Pats moved down with Trubisky potentially winning that job.
potentially Tomlin just
because
gave him the job
Lost
today.
AJ Brown and Rousseau and
Oh, that's fair.
several other pieces.
I didn't realize that was post draft.
He's also publicly come out that he's tearing it down at this point. So then,
Yeah.
I would just naturally take him down a couple of spots.
All right.
Yeah, I think Pats is going to literally copy what you did last year, RJ, and just do it piece by piece by piece, and probably get incredible return out of it. Unlike me.
I got lots of
just did
months
it
of a head
quickly.
start, so he's got to
Yeah.
do it real quick.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have a problem moving fast, as we saw last year.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I was clearly the worst team by preseason, and
Oh, yeah.
still like trying to move
Yeah.
things. So I would say, like, you want to have made it very clear that you have intentions on being
Mhm.
that bad by this point,
Yeah.
or else it's going to be a race to the bottom, which other people are involved in, and you
Right.
don't really want that.
Right.
You kind of
Right.
want to.
I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
I want to know what happened with my team. Like, I want to have a separate pod on like what happened with my team in the past.
The owner didn't care.
I was looking at the
You had Josh Allen.
The new guy came in. He sold Josh Allen for peanuts. I got mad at him for it, and then he started drafting cornerbacks as some
goes
weird
back to
form
last
of
year.
retaliation.
So we talk, this is probably a better conversation to start offline so that we're not airing all of the grievances. But basically, to give you the 30-second summary, last year's owner was in a tough situation of either pushing for the playoffs and potentially being a wild card, or getting the value he needed at a good, contract for Allen. He made the wrong choice. And then the owner who took over started a rebuild, but did not get value for the pieces he needed to get value for.
Well, he had two big ass. He had what? Jonathan Allen
Roquan and Josh Allen.
Well, I gave him Rashawn Gary and 3/3 for Roquan, which isn't horrible. It isn't great, but it isn't horrible. But the issue is he took those thirds and drafted Ahmad Gardner, Derek Stingley, and I can't remember what else he took. But he took corners.
There's a cornerback.
Picks. Yeah.
And then
Considering
Brandon
that
gave him a
Brandon
whole
went
bunch
like
of
this,
second
it
round
just spun
picks.
him around to Josh Allen.
Emerson.
I think it was 1 or 2 seconds at most.
It was a first and a second, and then
It was not a first.
It was
No.
Deshaun Watson
Yeah.
and like pieces for Josh Allen.
It
So
was like
basically,
Watson in a second.
Brandon did like this and then just spun him around a few times.
Yeah, I don't want
He
to go
offered
back.
to be-
I don't want to go back into my old offers and like tell you what I offered, but like I can confirm that I had at least 3 first round picks when that trade happened, and I was offering all but mine.
Yeah, but yours was the only good one.
I know, but still. I think it was like 27 and 28, and then like a second round, like a decent second round pick, and then like other things. And he's like, "Nah, I like Deshaun Watson."
So the problem with this league is when someone makes a trade that is ridiculed, everyone puckers up and they don't want to make a mistake again.
Yep.
And as the
It's
team
like
has
who?
traded Lamar Jackson for Tua and traded Stephon Diggs plus for the 103, which ended up being Kenny Pickett. A public service announcement that don't be afraid to keep making moves and dig yourself out of a hole that you might have put yourself in. There's
I
way
gave
too many people who really see
Mike
it.
literally
What,
proves the
111,
value of that every
118,
day.
and 122 for Stafford. He won a
So,
Super
okay.
Bowl, so
Wait, Stafford went for 1-1-2-2.
no, I gave up 3 1s for Stafford
Oh.
last offseason.
Yeah, but he's what, $10 million? I mean, he's
Yeah, no, I went
very
after him for the
valuable.
contract.
Yeah.
He's dirt cheap.
I feel like if I had better Photoshop or otherwise skills, I would take Brandon's last, rant about you don't be afraid to dig yourself out of the hole, lay it over that scene where Leo DiCaprio is making that first sale in Wolf of Wall Street in front of all his friends, and simulating anal sex while he's doing it, and saying, fair enough. Anyways, while I don't have skills when it comes to overlaying things when it comes to Photoshop or YouTube videos, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this podcast. About 70 minutes in, so we'll kind of call it here and save some of the major power rank stuff for upcoming weeks. I think we've had some good trades to talk about and some good discourse. Hopefully we'll get some more action here as we're getting back to fantasy life and getting some more camp hype for all these guys. And who knows, maybe we'll get some action out of the Chargers and see him alive and well in this league because he is missed. But again, Spoot Talk, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the league. Gentlemen, as always, it's a pleasure. As all of you know, a group of us will likely continue to talk in terms of trying to make some trades happen. And who knows, with 6 people, maybe one could happen. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed on that one because
You guys
I'm
don't
sending
have any
offers
wide
after
receivers I
all you
want.
guys are making deals, and Brandon's jumped me as the class of the NFC. So I can't stand for that. So everything's on the table. But as always, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and we'll talk to you next week.